Russian missile strikes on Ukraine's energy facilities today. Those missiles apparently crossing over into Poland. A senior U.S. intelligence official says 2 civilians have been killed 15 miles from Poland's border with Ukraine. If it's true, it would be the first time in the war Russian weapons landed inside a NATO country. Russia denying the reports. The missile barrage has caused widespread blackouts. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia fired at least 85 missiles. And in Kyiv, at least one person has been killed in a residential building. Now, North Central College professor Bill Muck has been following this. He joins us to talk about the significance of the strike in Poland. Professor, thanks for joining us.
Always good to be with you.
This is a big deal. Whether Russia intended to send missiles into Poland or if it was accidental, we could be looking at a variety of consequences, couldn't we?
Absolutely, right. And there's a lot that we still don't know. And I think number one is we don't know intent. We don't know if this was an intentional escalation by Russia targeting Poland or if it was a mistake. It's more likely that this was a mistake. But either way, we are looking at a situation where Russia has targeted and killed civilians in a NATO country. So absolutely, the world will be on alert. And I think NATO is having some very, very serious conversations as we speak.
President Biden speaking with President Duda in Poland a little while ago. As you know, he's at the G20 summit in Indonesia, saying that he's offering full U.S. support and assistance with Poland's investigation. And he reaffirmed, I should say, the United States being right behind it. And that's the thing. It has to be assessed what actually happened as to moving forward. And NATO's involved in this investigation, right?
Absolutely. So what you're hearing right now is that it's likely that NATO will convene tomorrow. You're hearing a lot of talk about Article 5, which talks about the collective self-defense, but that's probably not going to happen tomorrow.
Well,
tomorrow
Article
will be
4 is first, right? You talk about
sorry, say that again?
Article 4 will be first that they look at, right?
That's absolutely right. So they're going to call Article 4 where they'll have consultations, and that gives them some more wiggle room so they can talk about how they want to respond. Do they want to move to Article 5 or do they want to have a more lower level response? And you're not likely to see something against Russia itself, but likely a shift in how NATO is approaching Ukraine. And none of that is going to be good news for Russia.
Some are likening this to the Cuban Missile Crisis.
You know, I don't think we're quite there, but at the same time, it is a very precarious situation. Anytime you have two nuclear powers who are standing off and there's an exchange. And in some ways, what Russia has been doing, launching these missiles so close to the Polish border, is very, very reckless. Because that's the thing. A situation like this, all it takes is one match, and suddenly you're shifting into a different dynamic. So I believe that NATO will be very cautious in their response. But no mistake that NATO and Poland will respond. And then it goes back to Russia to see how Russia will respond. Anytime you get in that situation, it can be very, very dangerous.
And Russia has been pretty inaccurate in its missile strikes before. So that's why so many people are thinking that this could have been accidental.
I think that's right. So part of it is technology. Russia's gone through a lot of its technology and it's using less precise missiles. Part of it is intentional. I think what Russia's trying to do is make the Ukrainian population hurt. But when they're targeting cities so close to the Polish border, it was almost inevitable that something like this was going to happen. And in some ways, there is going to be a collective NATO response that's going to come quickly because they could have anticipated something like this. So that's why, Biden was so ironclad in terms of his response to the Polish president.
You talk about the collective NATO response. As we know, Russia not a part of NATO. He's already gotten, Zelensky's already gotten a lot of response from other nations saying that we're here to help no matter what because they're part of NATO. So how huge can this get?
Well, I think it can get pretty big. And I think the one way it's going to shift it is the conversation over the last couple of weeks have been thinking about a negotiated solution. And Zelensky has been pushing back against this. He's talking about he wants a military victory in Ukraine. And this is going to help his cause because Poland is going to be very, very excited to help Ukraine in this effort. So I think we're likely to see a military solution or at least an escalation there. And this is going to push back conversations about a negotiated solution. So, and again, anytime that happens, it increases the chance of some sort of escalation where the United States and Russia are directly engaging each other.
Do we expect to hear more from Russia? I mean, they were kind of slow to deny this.
Well, they initially said that they weren't involved. I'm curious to see what happens over the next 24 hours. Russia could de-escalate this by saying it was an accident, we didn't intend to do so, and we apologize. Now, that's usually not in Putin's playbook, but it would de-escalate very, very quickly. So we will see. If they continue to deny it, then it's going to be a case of evidence. And likely Poland and Ukraine and the United States are going to have radar evidence to undermine the Russian position.
North Central College professor Bill Muck, thank you so much for joining us. Be safe, be well.
Thanks for having me.